Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the Working From Home panel here at the Playgrounds Online Fest, as you all know, because you guys have been here. What is up in the chat? This is an incredibly exciting day. This has not been done before, and we are super pumped to be here. We've got an amazing group of panelists here that we'll introduce in just a second. I just wanted to throw out to the chat. As you all know, there is a feed there, and I'll be pulling questions from you guys as you drop them in. So please say what's up. Speaking of that, Speedy Dude is in the chat, and Speedy is, of course, the founder of Firestarter and the editor of the community magazine Firestarter. If you guys do not know what Firestarter is, be sure to check that out. Speedy Dunn has worked incredibly hard to put together the #1 publication in this community to really keep everyone together. And on that note, he's brought us all here in the room today. So our topic of this panel is working from home, as it is clearly topical right now. And I just want to go around and first introduce everyone in this room. And while we are doing this, please, in the chat, give us a little roll call. Tell us where you're streaming from. There's 2,400 of you in this room with us, which is amazing. Let us know where you are. We know you guys are all over the world. And also, second question for you guys, have you been to a Playgrounds event before? So, all the way up in that corner, we have Bastian Lecouf-Baram. Did we get it? It was close.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah,
Bastian is joining us from Ohio. Bastian is a French concept artist. He's worked on Magic the Gathering. He is well known online as the Master of Darkness. He is also, whilst being a freelance artist, he's also a teacher. So we're going to get some pretty cool information today about what that's like moving his class online. And Bastian is represented by Shannon Associates. Just a quick plug there. And then next to Bastian, we have Lois. And Lois goes online by Loesch. If you don't know Loesch's social media profile, do yourself a favor. Someone, please, if you would, drop her handle in the chat. Everyone go check her out. Words will not do justice. We're very happy to have Loesch here from the Netherlands, yes? And then to my, that side, I think, is Kiri Ostengard-Leonard. Close.
Pretty good.
Working on my Danish. Kiri is an indie artist. She has crafted her own personal art business, which we're going to get to talk about today, which is a super cool topic as we unravel what it's like to work from home while also trying to manage your own IP and bring out your own properties. She's done sponsorships with Wacom and XP Pen and a whole bunch of others, so we get to talk about how do we navigate some of those relationships too. And I am Banks, here from Kitbash 3D. Anyone out there heard of Kitbash 3D? I see some very familiar names in the chat. And I saw, what do we got? We got Berlin. People were in Berlin last year. JK was in Berlin at Playgrounds. Berlin was the first year last year that they did Playgrounds, and it was unbelievable. Our good buddy Leon Tucker in the chat saying, go Kitbash. What up, Leon? Leon is hosting all day long along with York. Be sure to catch some of the other streams. Thank you guys so much. Man, it's really cool seeing all these comments come in from all these different countries. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is an incredible thing to be part of this community. So let's dive in. Very quickly, I think Lois is the only one who doesn't work from home typically. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Bastian and Kira, you guys both work from home, right?
Yeah.
On like a normal day basis. Okay, great. So let's first start with you, Lois. What has the transition been like for you? Tell us a little bit about what your normal day is like, and then how has that shifted for you?
Well, normally I work at a studio space about 10 minutes biking from my home. So it isn't really like, it's not as if I work in like a studio with lots of people, because that studio space I rent on my own and I'm alone there when I work. So the transition has just been, to pick up a lot of my equipment and move into like a small room in my home. And now I think I'm like more social than before because my partner's home too. So we like, he's in the room next to me and I put on music we can both listen to. And before I was like quite isolated. And when I work alone, I get very hyper focused. So I would like go to my studio and then hyper focus work and then come home pretty exhausted. And now I'm just sort of like always in a medium level of focus. I think I'm in a more healthy situation now than I was before, but less productive.
Interesting though. What a combination to obviously not to denigrate the great suffering that's going around the world, but that for you personally, it's putting you in a better space to be home.
Yeah, and I think it's what I need as well, because I wouldn't be able to put like a full like focus 100% at a time like this, because a lot of my mental like energy, my headspace is going into just processing, what's going on in the world. So this is better, a bit more loose, a bit more easygoing. It's been a good transition.
I can imagine. I think we as a population will discover many great things that will come out of this. Bastian, for you, you normally work from home, right? So what's a typical day like for you?
So I have two offices. I work from home on my freelance, and I have my office at the university for what comes to teaching. But let's talk about working from home. Indeed, so what I have is that I organize my house with several different spaces. I have a room where when I'm in that room, I'm at work, and when I'm out of that room, I'm not at work. So I think that's really the key element to me for working from home is that. So I have a painting studio and I have a digital activities studio where I do all my Photoshop work. Everything I do is like from that room where I'm talking to you. My painting studio is on the other side of the house with a lot of open windows, so I can have a lot of ventilation for all the fumes. But I have a set of curtains, so when I close it, it means that I'm at work. And when I open it, it means that I'm available. So that's great to work when you are, with my wife and everything. Like the cats, they know that when the curtains are closed, I don't want to hear them meow. It's really that's my setting. That's my spatial setting. And as far as mental setting, I do a lot of. I'm perpetually trying to grab myself and push myself away from work because I know I'm like a yo-yo, so I will go back and I try to exit that mode. Lunch breaks, morning routine, like I try to run a mile every morning. Okay, that sounds dumb, but I will do like push-ups sometime to just make the blood circulate, go and walk outside for a minute, coming back to work. So it's all about... When I used to be a smoker, I used to take a smoke break, and that was doing it. I replaced it with exercise, but that's it's all about the physical and the mental and managing everything on that level.
I love that. I love the idea of replacing one habit with another and finding one that fits your lifestyle, keeps you way healthier. I also think having a visual cue in your home, sometimes it's so easy to, my business partner Max says, sometimes when you're working from home, you begin to live at work. And I think it's really smart to have a visual cue where you can draw a curtain and say, now this is the workspace, open it up, and then it's a totally different room for you to enjoy. Yeah. Even your cats know the difference.
My ultimate fantasy is a red light, having a little like switch when I'm working and the red light is on, like a good old school photo studio, That's a
fun idea. Kiri, how about you? Do you keep a specific working schedule while you're working from home?
Yeah, I found that if I don't keep a schedule that is usually from 9 till 6 o'clock, If I don't do that, I will work all the time, and then I burn out, and it's not good. So really important keeping that schedule. I have a studio in the upstairs of our house, and so when I go up into the studio, that's my work time. And unlike Bastian, my cats are not very well behaved, so they will interrupt me all day long. But it's really good.
Do you find you keep very specific hours?
No, I'm very flexible with my hours. Like if I don't get started until like 10 or 11, then I'll work later in the evening instead. But I definitely get at least 8 to 10 hours in every day when I work. So,
a question for all three of you. Do you guys only work Monday through Friday, or do you also work on the weekends?
I think you're being sneaky by asking that.
I try to keep my weekends free.
And
I have tried.
Yeah, mostly I do. Mostly I keep my weekends free. Although lately, like with this whole lockdown thing, working is pretty much the most fun thing happening in my life. So sometimes I just work. I have a good day in the weekend, and I'll just sit down and draw a bit in the weekend because there's nothing else to do, Well, I'm starting to read books again, so there's that. Maybe I'll be better about keeping my weekends free now.
I think that's the challenging part when your job is also your hobby.
Exactly.
It just bleeds together that way.
Yeah.
I don't organize my life with weekends and weekdays or anything like that at all, especially with the new conditions. But I force myself to take a day off once a week. That's what I do. So it doesn't matter when it is, but I take a day off once a week.
It can be so helpful sometimes. The progress equation is usually stress plus rest, and I find for all of us who are obsessed with what we do, it's often hard to get the rest part in. Even sometimes if you can force yourself or pull yourself away and get the break, then you can come back with fresh eyes and usually be more productive sometimes when you try to jam through that problem.
It's definitely important to take frequent breaks during the day as you're working. Like I always take about an hour for lunch. After work, I'll go out and exercise for an hour or two. So I get outside, and I'll do gardening during the day as well when I take breaks. So.
My good buddy in the chat, Nathan Clegg, what up? Nathan is from Procreate, and he asks, if you overwork yourself, do you lose your passion for art?
Yes.
Have y'all found a particular time where you just worked too much and didn't even want to look at it anymore?
So I have been in the last 5 years, I have had to, for personal reason, I had to work really a lot, way more than I should. But anyway, I have completely overworked myself, and I was starting to, everything was going bad. I could sleep less. I could not sleep as much as I wanted. I was not taking any breaks, and my work started. I consider that my work started to collapse, or at least I could feel like I had to do more effort to maintain the quality of the work. And so last year, I decided to take a real break. I divided the amount of work I was doing. I divided it by 2, for real. I moved from 70 hours of work a week to something more around 50, something like that. And that's amazing how much everything felt refreshed. My work is not something I'm trying to stay away from anymore. Sleeping at night is just a great feeling. Being able to wake up in the morning is even better, and all that. So it's working from home is all about balance. This is really the key word. It's about really balancing your self-care and your productivity.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. One of the things that we put in is we don't have hours that you have to be in the office. We just have hours that you're not allowed to work. And so in a typical week before this, even when we were going into the office, we would say you can't be in the office after 7 and you can't work on the weekends. And we found that forcing that kind of balance has made all of our productive hours better. But I do agree with Loesch that I've noticed we're all kind of working on the weekends because it's fun. Or it's one of the most fun things to do, and we've got ideas, and it's an interesting time to watch productivity as it's been. Did you find, Loesch, that in those first couple weeks it was really hard to get into the groove?
Yeah, it was. Well, like when the news kind of hit about the pandemic, so I think for everyone that was at a different moment where it really became was clear that this was serious, because I think before that everyone was just sort of thinking it was not our problem. I didn't work much at all for like a week and a half. I couldn't. I was just paralyzed. And then I had to sort of get back into working, but I had to do it in really, really small increments, like just a couple of hours a day, a little bit here, a little bit there, because I don't know, it was too much. So I think a lot of other people handled it better than I did. Maybe I'm one of the worst examples, because I talk pretty openly about this and I get responses on Twitter like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, oh my God, like I must be exceptionally bad at handling this. But yeah, I really had to get back into it slowly and slowly discover that work keeps me sane in times like this, because it's one of my only distractions, like real distractions. I mean, I've watched Tiger King, good distraction. It's funny, but it's working gives me a purpose outside of worrying. So but I had to sort of slowly get back into it because it felt false. It felt silly to do in the face of something so extreme. But it was particularly hard for me. I don't know how it was for you guys to sort of process the news.
One of the things that saved me from that is because as a professor, I'm also someone who has to care. So when the news started to hit, I did not have this, moment of silence that you probably experienced when you were like, oh, whoa, everything is happening. My first reflex was, I have 70 kids that needs to transition from, learning at school to learning from home. And so we got excessively busy with our entire art department. And so we were so busy taking care of others that I did not have time to focus on myself. And when I finally focused on myself, I realized I was already landed back into my studio with a lot of deadlines to meet. And so I did not have time to, I was not allowed to experience the panic, basically.
Yeah. It's a blessing in disguise, though, right? Because, I mean, it's hard not to process it, but it also gives you something to do outside of just rumination.
Oh, I'm very happy that it happened this way for me. Yeah, definitely.
I think especially as someone like you, Loesch, who has such a big fan base, the art and stuff that you put out, it gives people so much joy and happiness. So that's something that really can help people to take their mind off what's going on right now, seeing what you're creating and things like that. So that way, as an artist, it's a good time to serve your audience, so to speak.
Yeah, I think art can really have a healing effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And also to create it.
Yeah. You process your emotions when you're working.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more. I think we do have a great responsibility to society to envision things that have the ability to move people. And in tough times like this, I think it's really important that we all step into that and recognize the things that we have to offer to the rest of the group. One of the things we did at Kit Bash is we have a Utopia kit, and we've been the first week the pandemic hit here, we started giving that kit away. And we said, just anyone take this kit, the Utopia kit, and if you'll make bright art, you can have it and share it with your community. So on the hashtag Bright Art Dark Times, hundreds of people have been pouring out artwork of imagining the world.
That's so nice. That's such a beautiful thing to do.
I think to y'all's point, I think it's really important that we recognize that we have a great strength here, and there's a very important role in society for all of us now to step up and use our talents and gifts. And I think it's so easy to feel kind of crippled by this situation and wondering what can I do, and is there anything I can do but sit home and worry? And I think too, Loesch's point.
One of the things I did when this all started, I was a little bit ahead of that because I'm always connected with my friends from France. So compared to my community here in Ohio, I could see how everything was going. And they thought I was a bit paranoid or nuts at the beginning, and I was outside like hitting on the pan, being like, "The prophecy, it's happening." But one of the first things I did when the shit started to hit the fan, I went on Facebook and I made a post like, basic like, "How is everyone doing?" And that's amazing how many people answered and had so much things to say, and people had so much to get out of their chest. That made me realize that we had a role to play in that, and that, as artists with a little bit of a following, we could make people get in touch, communicate. Kiri, are you trying to divert from the essential things I'm saying with a cat butt on live stream?
She's a shoulder cat.
And so I realized that we did have a purpose in that, because so my wife she's a therapist she's a mental health therapist, and she works with a lot of people struggling with addiction. And so I could see her getting back in the trench and doing the hard work with a community that was excessively at risk. And so I felt completely irrelevant. I was like, well, I'll just draw some magic cards while you are busy saving lives, And at the same time, I realized that, I had a part to play with my artwork as well. And so I engaged completely with that. But that was interesting, because you are touching on a topic that is very interesting right now. The fact that, what is our purpose as artists? Because one of the things that I keep thinking about is I could be doing something more useful, more important, something more meaningful for the world. And I'm here, painting and drawing and making my sketches and my stuff. How irrelevant is that in a way? And this entire situation made me realize that no, it's not. It's really not. Like we clearly have a reason to exist and to make our work exist and to share it and communicate and all that.
It like what you're doing with creating role-playing games, it really kind of allows people a break and an escape from everything that's happening. They get to sit down, enjoy a fun game in a dark and terrible world.
Well, and we found ourselves at such an
That's good for a cross stitch.
yeah, exactly.
Those are the themes Bastion works with.
You think the real world is bad? Come and play with us. It's worst.
Yeah, you feel better about the real world afterwards.
Yeah, right. You're like, my life's not so bad here.
Yeah.
I saw on Bastion's art station, his location is hell. Right on.
I tried to warn you.
Yeah, you did. Right out the gate. I think, we're at such an interesting time for our business, because something like 25% of the world is able to work right now, and we're so lucky to be in a space that we're able to continue our jobs. And I think what this sort of shift more towards the screens is doing for us is, in fact, making the art community and the digital art community even more of a presence. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually been amazing to see how, after all of this hit, how people have really come together, and so many artists have banded together to create events like this event, for instance. There's been a lot of other online conventions and things too. So it's really cool to see how artists are kind of banding together and really trying to support the world in this. And
yeah. I see the chat firing up about this too. Playgrounds is a pretty awesome organization run by Leon, and he's got an amazing team over there, Jacqueline and Rick and everyone who's worked so hard to pull this thing together. And they, as we all know, having been to the Playground's physical events, they do such a great job of trying to make it very special. I think there's so many events around the world in this community, or really any community, where they bring a good group of artists together and they do the event. But I think Playgrounds at every possible corner is looking to go the extra mile. And I think it's such a testament to them that within just a couple of weeks, they were able to pull this together, which is such a monumental undertaking if anyone's ever live streamed before. So the chat too, as you guys know, we're all actually paying attention to it. So feel free to throw in any questions as I can. I'm not trying to pull them. So let's talk a little bit more about the business side of this. Kiri, as you mentioned, you've been building your own IPs and your own businesses from home for a while now. What are some of the tips you've learned about representing yourself as your own business entity from home?
The best tip I got was when I first started doing art, which was take your work seriously and start right now, even if you're a student. And always remind yourself to do that when you're, working on your craft, when you're promoting yourself. As an artist, where you're representing yourself, everything you do online is going to be part of your brand and part of your business. So you just got to put that consideration and thought into that. The other thing is to make sure that you diversify your business. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't rely on just doing freelance work or just doing YouTube or just doing sales conventions. You got to do a little bit of everything so that when something like this happens, you're not left without income.
Those are huge tips, and I think you covered a bunch of topics really fast, which I think is awesome. So importantly, I think you hit on is take your art seriously, take yourself seriously, and represent your brand.
Yeah.
Lois, can you add to that, feeling like you have such a big online presence, and how do you manage a brand like that? And are you very conscious of this is on brand for me or this isn't?
Well, I try to follow my intuition with almost everything I do. I found that that's like the one thing that really worked out for me in my life. So I had a lot of rough patches when I went to art school and stuff where teachers didn't like what I did, and also with work, trying to find out what works for me. And the only thing that really really worked out for me was doing what felt right, so I use that as my sort of guide. I know that sounds really kind of Pocahontas-y, but it is how I handle it. And I think that's my brand. I think my brand is what I land on intuitively, the thing that feels right to me. But on the other hand, managing that and trying to make sure that it's that I can, convey that through my social media and my work is really through planning and scheduling everything, which is the opposite of intuitive. But so I use my intuition as the guide for what to do, and then I try to plan it out as much as possible. And I actually spent most of my career not really planning too strictly, and it led to sort of my career being subject to my moods, and that if I was not feeling very productive or focused on something else for a while, that it was harder, to keep up with, especially social media, which is a very big pressure, a lot of time that goes into it. So I learned the only way for me to really be able to stay productive and achieve longevity is to be more consistent in planning it out. And that's actually been it's saved me in this time, because if I was depending on my energy level to make art and to make social media posts and join an online festival and let people know about it, I wouldn't have posted anything, because like I said, still processing a lot of stuff, right? And but I had it all planned out in advance. I have a lot of stuff. I just wait until I'm feeling okay, now's the time. I'm very productive right now, and I've had a lot of coffee. I'm ready for this. I've scheduled it in, and then I plan it out. I even plan out things okay, I'm going to draw this every month. I want to make some sketches, some studies, some painting time. That's what keeps me. That's my grip on life. I can maintain that. Hey, another kitty.
Cat's about.
Sorry.
This is like the Reddit live stream where it's just people filming their cats.
Bastian, how does that relate for you? With you sort of lead a double life as I guess one hand shakes the other, but you're an artist, and then you're also a teacher. Do you find that you have to manage those two brands separately, or that they're one thing?
So yes, no, actually, I say yeah, but so I think the key is to having a cat, because you can boost your social media by sending awkward pictures of your cats, and then you post your artwork, and then you can mess with the algorithms with that. On a serious level, and to obviously you both mentioned very important things. One advice I give to my students all the time is to really, really focus on being themselves. A lot of artists that they have to behave a certain way, show professionalism one way or another, and they end up somehow kind of modifying and adjusting themselves to what they think will be successful. If you are true to yourself with your artwork, true to yourself with the way you present yourself online, not only you will sound genuine and you will provide authenticity, and this is charming, but on the top of that, you will avoid doing a mistake that I see made too often, which is trapping yourself in a role. And at the end of the day, when you are trying to just fit a mold that you created for yourself, your work can become a struggle. Whether if you present yourself completely honestly, you just show who you are, you give what you have to give, you present what is true. When you do that, you connect with people a certain way, but most of it all, you connect with yourself, and that makes your work as an artist so much more easy. When my work looks like myself, there is no way around that, because I just do what the fuck. Sorry, I said it. What the F I want. I'm that type of guy, I just do what I want. Some people will love it. Some people don't care at all about what I do, and that's completely fine. But at least I'm never trapped doing something that I don't want to be doing. Even here is an advice for your portfolio, for everyone who is listening. That's exactly the same thing I always tell my students. I am terrible at painting dragons. All right. I can do them, but it's so much of a struggle. It takes me so much time. So I am not going to put a damn dragon in my portfolio, because the only thing that will happen is that people will ask me for more dragons, and I will have to do more dragons, and I will become a dragon painter, and I will just struggle. So I put in my portfolio the things I love to do, the things I do well, and I roll with what I can do, I think I kind of went on a tangent, but
no, I think you hit on so many really, really amazing, important notes. And I think the idea of being authentic to yourself and letting what truly means something to you be expressed is an incredibly difficult thing to do in the era of the internet, as we all try and figure out how do we represent ourselves online. But I think as an artist, it's probably the most important thing. And I'm curious to know what kind of advice you have for your students, because there's the very famous Ira Glass quote that we all have taste. Taste is probably what made you want to become an artist to begin with. But then there's the gap when you're starting out of my art is here, but my taste is here, and so then you dislike your own art, and so it's very difficult to close that gap along the way. And how do you advise students or people? I'm sure there are many people in the chat who are just getting going here. How do you advise them on how to close that gap and maintain their positivity and optimism while, if they're being authentic, trying to make it live?
I feel like it's about accepting the fact that dissatisfaction is part of the job. Like, because the more you climb, the more you realize that you can push, you can keep pushing, and so just be soft on yourself. Work hard, but accept the fact that it's just a path, and that every time you open a door, there is a new way, a new path, new things to discover. And so the idea of one day I will be fully satisfied with my artwork is like a terrible chimera to chase. I enjoy not being satisfied with my artwork. That's what pushes me forward. So anytime someone is like, hey, that's great, I love what you did, for example, on a magic card that I did 1 year ago and that is just released, and I'm already, fast trying to move to something new. Just keep chasing. That's what matters, I think.
Kiri, how does that work for you? When you're making your own IP, how do you decide it's time to put something out, and how do you decide when to get back going and bring it to the next level? How do you make that decision?
Is she frozen?
I think she froze. I must say, I can't believe how smooth this live stream has gone so far. If anyone saw our talk, Max and I's talk at Playgrounds last year, she dropped off. She'll be right back. We showed all the different technical difficulties we experienced in our first live stream, which it's unfathomable how difficult it is to pull in all these streams from different places. We're literally all over the world and live streaming to thousands of people at once. It's pretty amazing that able to do this way. And I think it's, technical difficulties happen at the very highest level of production value across
It's always brilliant when somebody's frame like freezes on a moment where they have like a good listening expression, so that it takes like a really long time before you realize that they froze.
Catching up with the chat. Thank you all so much for being so active here and hanging out with us. What's up, Droki? It's good to see so many of you all here, and she's back.
Yeah, my Skype crashed.
Hopefully we bridged the gap. Well, I'll throw the question back at you. We were talking about how do you push yourself whilst running your own IP. It's not as if you have a client who says this work is good or bad. How do you decide when the work is ready to go out the door, and how do you keep yourself continually going?
You look at artists such as Louis and Bastian, and you put your own work next to it, and then you're like, could this be better? Are there things I need to do to attain the kind of quality that I want to represent? And then you push yourself further that way. So it's a lot of looking at other artists that inspire you, looking at other IPs, other projects that kind of have that kind of feel that you want to be putting out there in the world.
Darren Aronofsky talks about that a lot. He calls it his visual spice rack, and that it's very deliberate. That he'll when he feels down or he feels like he's out of inspiration, he'll go to a museum and take a little piece of something here or something there that can fuel him back.
Yes, like I have like a kind of a library of go-to artists that I'm always looking at that are kind of the goal of what I want to achieve with my work in many years from now. It's not something I'm able to do right now. Norman Rockwell is one I always look at. So it's good to have those kind of heroes that you can kind of use to push your work further.
I love you mentioned goals, and then you mentioned like Norman Rockwell. It's like, okay, all right.
Well, but I think it's so important to have role models and to have things that you keep in front of you to aspire towards and to be inspired by.
I mean, I think it's good, Bastian, on that note, to have the unattainable goal. So you always have something to strive towards.
I saw it came up earlier in the chat, and I wanted to get to it. Someone did ask, how do you, what are some of the tricks you guys use to find inspiration when you're out of it?
I don't think I'm ever out of inspiration. I have too many ideas.
Yeah, me neither. It's like movies, music, books. Okay, I promised myself I will not talk about those things online, but I'm going to, because I don't keep my promise to myself. I have a terrible theory about what you eat and what you do to the restroom. Basically, basically, you obviously are what to eat, and if you don't want to produce terrible stuff, you need to feed yourself with quality things. In class, I get on rambles about some terrible fast food industry will make you poop terrible things, and that's exactly the same with what you feed yourself with as an artist. You must find some stuff that are good quality, and I'm not the judge of quality, but quality for you, for what you want to do. Feed yourself with things that will just make you a better artist. In fact, I'm never out of inspiration. I'm out of time for the stories I have to visually tell.
I love
to feed yourself with cool stuff, like feed yourself all the time with, again, movies, books, cats, experience.
Really good advice.
I think that's so important, that as you, probably everyone out there is finding themselves with a little bit more free time at home, and it's probably pretty easy for anyone to slip into whatever the fast food version is for you, but you can instead make some of those choices that will enrich you. There's probably real opportunity there for everyone to evolve their visual spice rack.
Mm-hmm. And it's good, I don't mean to be elitist or anything. Like, it's really good to, have some leisure time and watch some terrible shit on TV and whatever is good to relax. But it's also really good, I always tell my students, hey, while you play that really dumb game for 1 hour, why don't you spend two other hours watching that movie that will change your life forever. Because, you know, I can think about so many movies who definitely changed me, you know, from The Seven Seals to Blade Runner to I mean, the list is endless. And just find a good balance. It's like working from home, you know, go back on topic. Just find a good balance with what you feed yourself with. I love a terrible burger from time to time, but I also like good food, you know.
I think that's fantastic. Well, there's so much advice, and the chat is full of very specific artistic questions. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all of this today. I'm sure the four of us could go on for quite a long time, and I know there are many people out there that want to keep up with you guys, and in this time period would really benefit from getting inspiration from you all. Could we go around and just could you guys let everyone know how they can keep up with you? Could we start over here with Katie?
You can find me at all the social media platforms at Kiri Leonard.
Awesome.
And also Kiri Leonard. Yes, and KiriLeonard.com is my website, and that has links to everything as well.
Awesome. If there is someone out there in the chat feeling so inspired, please drop these links in there while we do this. And Bastian, how can we keep up with you?
ArtStation, because I do everything with ArtStation. I have a Twitch channel called Twitch whatever Le de Arme, so like Le Couvre de Arme, but also Le de Arme, like you know what I'm doing, right? And what else? I have a Discord channel. I have all this kind of stuff. So I was already active, but I became proactive with the pandemic. But I mean, I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome. Discord is such a great place to hang. And Lois, could you give us yours too, please?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at LoisVB, because my last name is Van Baarle. It's a V and a B. And for those of you who are struggling with this coronavirus stuff as much as I am, I have a story highlight with a bunch of memes in there about this virus that has been like the only light of this whole thing for me. Like sometimes I look at them, I just laugh really hard, and then I just go back to, you know, harsh reality. But it gives a break, so check it out. And I'm also on Patreon. You can find me there at Loish, Loish.
Awesome. Be sure, everyone, thank you guys for dropping the links in there. Be sure to keep up with all of them. I'm Banks. You can find me just my name on Instagram. And I'm here from Kitbash3D. You can find us at Kitbash3D. I want to just drop a huge thank you to Playgrounds for putting such an unbelievable event together. You guys never fail to deliver something amazing for people. And I think, you know, your big heart and your willingness to give is something that goes noticed by all of us. A huge thanks to Spiridon and Firestarter for sponsoring these awesome panels. Your continued effort to put this thing together is unbelievable. Principal sponsor here is Procreate. If y'all don't know Procreate, check them out. Wacom, MSI. And so this is also, so you know, this is a whole festival. There's 2 different streams going on all day. It's an unbelievable undertaking by Playgrounds. Please participate in the other conversations. I'll be back here in about an hour or so. Leon and York are going to take over from here. To the chat, thank you guys so much. Shout out to Sebastian Pilecki, the great, and Jay Hilliard. What's up, my friend? Thank you guys all so much. Please stay safe, stay healthy, take care of each other, and give your art to the world. They need it now. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.